All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're talking about a massive, truly breathtaking shift happening right now in the scientific community. As of June 2026, we are living through what can only be described as a biological renaissance. See, for decades, modern medicine has basically been playing a game of whack-a-mole, treating isolated diseases like cancer or heart disease only as they pop up. But today, the entire longevity and health space is shifting. Instead of just reacting to illness, researchers are targeting the biological aging process itself, treating it as a preventable and treatable medical condition. It's a complete revolution in how we approach human health. Here's the quick roadmap for what we're unpacking today. First, the new aging paradigm. Then we'll look at rewinding the cellular clock, AI and zombie cells, the perfect exercise prescription, and finally, tomorrow's wellness trends. Let's get right to it. So Section 1, the new aging paradigm. We're looking at aging as a communication breakdown. You know, at the recent Targeting Longevity World Congress, they introduced this massive shift in how we fundamentally think about the body. The old view? It basically assumed aging was just inevitable wear and tear, kind of like a car engine slowly rusting out over the years. But the new view? Scientists are now defining aging as a progressive failure of communication between your biological systems. The whole game now is preserving systems-level resilience. Think of it literally like a dropped phone call between your cells. Your mitochondria, your cellular energy engines, they are in constant communication with your gut microbiota. But when that connection drops, your systems lose that resilience. Systemic inflammation flares right up, and honestly, that inflammation is what actually hits the fast-forward button on the aging process. So the goal isn't just slapping a Band-Aid on late-stage damage anymore. It's all about keeping those internal communication lines wide open. Moving right along to Section 2, rewinding the cellular clock and those FDA-approved human trials. Led by experts like Harvard's Dr. David Sinclair, we are seeing some truly historic breakthroughs using what are called Yamanaka factors. These are specific genes that are literally capable of rewinding the cellular clock. No joke. By using these modified genes, researchers have successfully reprogrammed mature cells right back to a youthful state. They've reversed aging in animal tissues by a staggering 75%. They've even used this to completely restore vision in blind animal models. It is absolutely mind-blowing. But here is the crucial point. This isn't just staying in the lab with animal models. The very first FDA-greenlit human trials are happening right now. Currently, they're targeting cellular rewinding in eye diseases like glaucoma. But make no mistake here, fixing isolated eye diseases, that's just step one of a much larger, incredibly ambitious mission to eventually reverse systemic aging across the entire human body. Okay, Section 3, AI and zombie cells, and how we're accelerating drug discovery. To speed this whole process up, artificial intelligence is stepping in, bringing absolute sheer scale. 70%. That is the staggering success rate that AI-generated longevity molecules are currently achieving in predictive lifespan extension during early tests. That's a huge deal. AI is drastically shortening the timeline for finding compounds that can actually move the needle on our biology. So what exactly are these AI-discovered compounds targeting? Well, a lot of the time, they're acting as Senolytics. These are drugs designed specifically to hunt down and destroy what we call zombie cells, or senescent cells. Basically, these are cells that have reached the end of their useful life, but they stubbornly refuse to just die off. Instead, they linger in your body, just pumping out chronic, aging-accelerating inflammation. These new AI-developed drugs, they act like a highly targeted cleanup crew, sweeping those zombie cells right out of your system. All right, let's bring this down to earth in Section 4, the perfect exercise prescription, straight from the Harvard longevity data. To ground all this sci-fi-level biotechnology into something you can actually use today, let's look at a massive 30-year study of over 147,000 adults by Harvard. This definitively settles the old cardio versus strength training debate, and it gives us the exact perfect formula to optimize your week. Check this out. If you do 90 to 120 minutes of strength training, lifting weights, calisthenics, bands, you get a 13% lower risk of premature death and a massive 27% lower risk of neurological diseases like Alzheimer's. But if you take the hybrid approach, combine that strength training with regular aerobic movement like running or swimming, and you are looking at up to a 58% reduction in early death risk compared to a sedentary lifestyle. That's just wild. But pay super close attention to this number, 120, because more isn't always better. Harvard found a strict plateau right at 120 minutes for strength training per week. That means lifting weights for more than 2 hours a week yielded absolutely no additional longevity benefits in their data. None. So the takeaway here is incredibly empowering. You absolutely do not need to live in the gym to get the maximum biological benefit. A simple, hyper-focused 15 to 20-minute daily habit is really all it takes to stave off muscle wasting, which is known as sarcopenia, and protect yourself against cognitive decline. It's all about consistency, not sheer exhaustion. Finally, Section 5, Tomorrow's Wellness Trends. Let's look at what's on the horizon. We're currently seeing 3 incredible trends hitting the mainstream preventative health space. First, one-shot GLP-1 gene therapy. Biotech is actually moving past those weekly weight loss injections like Ozempic, aiming instead for a permanent single-shot gene therapy to fix metabolic health. Second, there's a fascinating new probiotic. And third, multi-cancer early detection, or MCED liquid biopsies. Just imagine using AI to spot the DNA patterns of over 50 types of cancer from a single, simple vial of blood, way before any symptoms ever appear. Let's zoom in a bit on that second trend, Akkermansia muciniphila. Now, I know it sounds a little gross to talk about a mucus-eating probiotic, but trust me, this specific gut bacterium is an absolute powerhouse. It strengthens the gut barrier, lowers systemic inflammation, and dramatically improves insulin sensitivity. Remember that vital biological communication between our systems we talked about earlier? Well, this is exactly how we repair it. When you pull all of this together, the current scientific consensus is remarkably clear. Lifespan extension, it's really becoming just a byproduct of health span optimization. Ultimately, whether it's through lab-grown epigenetic gene therapies, tracking Senolytics, or just knocking out your daily 20-minute dumbbell routine, the entire goal is simply to keep your body's complex biological systems talking to each other for as long as humanly possible. As science continues to turn what honestly once seemed like pure science fiction into everyday, accessible health protocols, it leaves us with one incredibly exciting question to ponder. If preserving your biological resilience successfully expands your lifespan, what will you do with your extra decades? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.